Oops. Can you hear me if I'm talking?
Yes.
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. I'm hung up on this stupid screen.
I can hear you.
With a small pot with jams.
6705.
705?
6705.
Ah, Trevor.
Urban tonight.
Urban tonight, yeah. All right. So is that, are you done, Claudia? Fantastic. Now we go on to our feature presentation. We will have Ingrid do our introduction.
But thank you, Susan. One of the things that's so fun about this Rotary Club is that we work with really good people. And specifically, I was sitting in Susan's office back in about April. And we were going through all the speakers and.
Ingrid, put it next to your mouth, not over your shoulder.
Thanks, Mike.
Can you see it now?
The
All right.
so working with these folks, we've had a chance to look at all the speakers, look at all the dates. And Susan said, Ingrid, for the first time in a long time, we're going to have Veterans Day actually on Friday, November 11th. And first thing we said is Dave Williamson. And so starting back in April, we've started thinking about today, and starting back in about July or August, Dave started putting together today's program. So I'm going to ask you to put your hands together. Dave, come on up. Let us know what we're going to hear today. And thank you again for all the support. Thanks for.
Okay, I know I'm not Sergeant at Arms, but I just can't resist it. Good morning, Rotary. Very good. Glad to see you. Well, thank you. Today is a special day. It is Veterans Day. And I got to figure out what I did with my glasses. Are they on the table? Good Army subordinate. He did that well. November 11th, Veterans Day. Today is the 315th day of the year. When you put that in? No, it's in. You just need either hold it or just, I'm gonna clip it on your back. Okay. All right, 315th day of the year. That means it's only, let me see how I did this. The 51st day of fall, and it is only 40 days till winter. Are you ready? Okay. The birthstone for today is topaz and citrine, whatever that is. And the sign of the zodiac, Scorpio. So if you're born on November 11th, you're a Scorpio. Color for the day is green. Unfortunately, that's Army green. But lots of things happened on this day, and it's special because 41 pilgrims signed the compact aboard the Mayflower today. We had state of Washington was admitted to the Union as the 42nd state. As Claudia had mentioned earlier, the 11th day, 11th month, and 11th hour was the implementation of the end of World War I. President Harding signed dedicated the Tomb of the Unknown today. And Kate Smith actually sang Irving Berlin's God Bless America for the first time. How many know who Kate Smith is? Okay, good. How many have heard Kate Smith's God Bless America? Fantastic. Okay. But today being National Veterans Day, so I wanted to do a couple things that are special. So today everybody got a blue ticket, right? So hold on to those blue tickets, but I have a question and I have a gift for the person who happens to answer the question first with the correct answer. Question is, there are more than one designated holiday name for today. Everybody calls it Veterans Day. What is the other? Okay, there's still a third one. What is the third one? Who said that? You win the prize. Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day is normally held in countries other than the United States. They refer to it as Remembrance Day. So the prize you get, Peter, you get a Wounded Warrior Program fleece blanket. So, for yourself. So, congratulations. Judy and I use those things to sit around in the den. They're really warm. They're kind of nice. All right. So, the second, after I get done with the presentation, I'll draw for the remaining blue tickets. But today is Veterans Day, and I wanted to share with you not only some history, but some interesting facts that pertain to who we are as a nation and how we honor and recognize those members of the military who have placed their lives on the line in many cases for our benefit, and the freedoms that we enjoy and the opportunities that we have in our country versus many of the other places around the world. So I want to talk about who or what is a veteran. All right, won't work, Mike, or let me see if I can get it to go. Can't get it to advance. Did earlier, didn't it?
What the heck? Yeah, I just tested it with Wolf.
Talks among yourself. There we go. All right. All right. Veterans Day was the original title, and you got the original title was called Armistice Day. And so we're going to talk about what it is we do on Veterans Day and why. And as Claudia pointed out and highlighted, that World War I ended, and they wanted to find a way to recognize and implement the peace and the truce that was agreed to. And so they called it Armistice Day, and they agreed to the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And that always came to November 11th. And it is the only holiday, as Claudia mentioned, that we celebrate on November 11th every day. It's not one of those floating every Monday or every other Monday or things of that nature. So you already answered that question, so we'll go on. What was the purpose of the original national holiday? And what you're going to find is intended to honor military personnel. So folks that had served and dedicated their lives to the United States in all wars, and living veterans as well. Usually it's marked by parades and presentations such as this, and dinners and services like that around the country. But what's the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day? Correct. Okay. Veterans Day honors and recognizes those living and deceased veterans, people who have served. And the intent was to acknowledge and have a day, special day every year where we recognized and honored veterans of military service in the United States. Memorial Day is for those that have given their lives or have died as part of their service to the United States. So who is a veteran? And what is it to be a veteran? Anyone that has served is a good answer. And there are really two definitions for veterans. One is for civilian service and one is for military service. Civilian veteran usually means somebody who has been around and done something for a long time. If you're a carpenter, you're a veteran carpenter who has done that particular trade for 20, 30 years or something to that effect. But if you're a military veteran, then it's a person who has served in the armed forces, and there are basically either a veteran, some are what's referred to as war veterans. Generally, those are individuals who have actually participated in a conflict across the spectrum. Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulation defines a veteran as a person who has served in the military, naval, or air service and who was released or discharged under conditions that were honorable. Some facts about veterans that you may or may not be aware of. Military veteran status can be attained from honorable service in one of 4 branches of the service. Actually, there's 5 now. So can you name all 5? No. Coast Guard is not an active duty military service because in peacetime, the Coast Guard is assigned to the U.S. Department of Transportation. They transfer to the Department of Defense upon declaration of war. So what are the 5 military, uniform military armed services? Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and the new one, Space Force. So, sorry, Mike. Sure it does. Sorry, it does. Sorry, Mike, it still counts, okay? But we also have reserve services, reserve forces in each of those branches. And then you have the National Guard, which are state affiliated military members. National Guard services, for those of you that are not familiar with the National Guard actually work for the governor of the states. And so they are, if they are needed, the federal government must ask the local governor for those as forces to be assigned to the federal government. They cannot be tasked directly by the federal government because they don't work for the federal government. They work for the state governor. Here's some other interesting facts you may not be aware of. George Washington once said that the willingness of which young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation. Nothing is more truer. And all you have to do is go back just a little while to the treatment of Vietnam veterans as they returned, and the reception that they received versus those that came back from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, and the like. So big difference. And it can have a direct impact on the nation, unfortunately, sometimes. But we have 19 million living veterans that have served in at least one war as of April 2021. 11% of veterans are women. We have 5.9 million veterans who served during the Vietnam War, which is now the largest class of veterans that the United States has. It used to be World War II, obviously, but many of those have now gone into heaven. And so we find that the Vietnam warriors are the ones that are the largest class of veterans today. 7.8 million veterans served in the Gulf War. We have 16 million veterans who served during War II. About 240,000 of those still exist. So there are a few still around. And we have, as of 2021, three states that provide the highest percentage of veterans, and they are Alaska, Virginia, and Montana, of all places. One of the classic quotes that you may or may not have heard about veterans came from Father Dennis O'Brien, who was a chaplain assigned to the United States Marine Corps. And he talked about what is a veteran. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who gave us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the organizer, who gave us freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, but who serves beneath the flag and has a coffin that is draped by the flag, and who allows protesters to burn the flag. As a nation and as a community and as a club, we stand to recognize our veterans with multiple programs that our club has supported over the years, two of which you'll hear about today. But we have been very active and involved in the District 6690, the establishment of the Veterans Affairs Committee, to work with all of the veterans clubs throughout the district to provide information and to assistance to veterans throughout the areas that these clubs represent. And it has had a traumatic and terrific impact on our ability to reach out and provide information to veterans on services available and opportunities available to them following their service. So it's been a tremendous experience. We want to thank, these are the members of the club who have served. As you can see, some of them are present here today. So want to thank you, the veterans, for your service. And that, ladies and gentlemen, may give you a better idea of who or what Veterans Day is all about. I want to thank you for your attention, and I want to start moving from that presentation, that background, into a couple projects that we have been working with here at the Dublin AM Rotary Club. The first is we have been working with Mr. John Witt, who is the faculty advisor at Dublin Scioto High School, who began a program with an extensive program and set of projects to honor and recognize veterans throughout the Central Ohio area, and involving students in getting active and involved in understanding what veterans are, what they have done, and what their needs are following their terms of service in support of the country. He began a thing called the Purple Star Club, which, and unfortunately, John was supposed to be with us today and was going to be able to do it, but his mother passed away earlier this week. So he was not available, obviously, to participate. So I'm going to try to step in and provide just a little bit of an update of some of the things. I was privileged last night to attend the Veterans Story Project, which they initiated several years ago, and our club has supported with financial donations to assist them in gathering materials that they need to encourage the students to go out and to sit down and to conduct an interview with a veteran, someone in their immediate family, someone in their neighbor, or something like that. And those students have done that through their efforts. And each one of them then, with their interview, would prepare a little storyboard that they would set up in the hallways of Scioto High School. Now, I thought this would be something, maybe there'd be a dozen or so of those. This is one of 4 hallways at Dublin Scioto High School, and every one of those represents an interview that one of the students had taken with a veteran. This is a classic example of the information that they would obtain from the veteran as and they were given just a general outline, and then each of them put together a portfolio, if you will, dedicated to that veteran. And as you can see, whoops, let me go back. How do I go back? Let me try it this way. But like I say, I was surprised. There was 4 hallways of these. Thought I had one more, but I didn't. Okay. So this was quite a thing. And then at the end of the as each student, they had parents and other guests of the Scioto were able to walk through the hallways, and the students would present a short presentation on the veteran and things of that nature. Then there was 30 veterans that met in the cafeteria, and then they had tables set up so that the kids could come and sit down and ask questions and talk to the veterans about what it was like to serve as a member of the military and some of their experiences and things like that. And I was amazed. There was over 400 kids at the school last night that were participating and interested in listening to and hearing what these veterans had to say. So it was quite an experience to have been there. And this is just one of 5 programs that John Witt has initiated at Dublin Scioto High School in support of that. This year, our club made a large donation to them because they are buying flags to go out and plant at veterans' graves or deliver to veterans in their homes. They're writing letters and cards and things of that nature to visit. They go up to the veterans' home in Sandusky, another place, to visit some of these veterans there. It's just a fantastic program, and our club has been very supportive of John and his efforts. And the thing that's very interesting to see how many kids have taken up an interest in what's going on and who veterans are and what they're doing. So it's been a very thing. Our second guest we have here today is Captain Chad Jenkins, who's former United States Army. Other than that, Michael, you settle down. But Chad is here as a veteran and as a member of Resurrecting Life Foundation, which is one of the causes that our club has supported over the years. So I don't want to take any of his. The one thing I want to announce, Chad was last night formally inducted into the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame. So congratulations. Chad Jenkins. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dublin and Rotary Club, for allowing me to come here.
Oh,
Right. So real briefly, because I know we're limited on time, but I do have to share a quick war story. Who doesn't like a war story on a Friday morning, right? So let's have that real quick. And it's actually the reason it's so critical to me, because it happens every November 11th. Because this event, this night fell on November 11th, 2006 in the desert of Iraq. And I was the ground force commander of a Ranger platoon, Ranger company in Iraq. It was my 4th combat deployment. I was a pretty salty ground force commander at about 26 years old. And we were going to conduct a direct action raid on a house in the middle of the desert who had a potential enemy force inside. And so we got dropped off on 2 CH-47 Chinook helicopters about 5 miles south of the objective, and we were going to walk in that night. I could go on for quite a bit of time on this story, but I'll cut to the chase because of the time frame. It was during our walk to the target that we became overwhelmed by a Kurdish Peshmerga tank battalion that we did not know was in that area of operation, and they did not know we were in that area of operation. And we were on the desert floor, about as flat as this floor in this room, when we became under fire from rocket-propelled grenades, AK-47s, and then T-55 Russian tanks started shooting at us as well. And it was at that moment in time, my 4th deployment, my last deployment, I had been in contact, my Ranger battalion, or my Ranger company had been in a gunfight 19 nights in a row during this deployment. So we were very seasoned, but it was my only time ever in a gunfight that I froze for about 5 to 10 to 15 seconds. I could not logically think of what course of action I could take to get my 40 men out of this situation, this perilous situation that had no upside to it whatsoever, as rocket propelled grenades were blowing up in my Ranger squads, and I was watching it from the side as it was unfolding. And before I keyed that hand mic to call up to the joint operations center, the JOC, who I needed to communicate with, I just stopped. And in that moment, I there is no atheist in a gunfight. There is no atheist in a foxhole. And I said, God, you got to do something. I have run out of options. I am at ground zero. I have no other options. I need you to do something. Protect my men. About 2 hours later, we evacuated from that scenario. I called in CH-47 helicopters to come pick us up. And every single 40 man of that Ranger platoon got on the birds and we made it out. I share that because I wish it was that aha moment that I came back that night and was like, oh my gosh, you got me. No, I'm a hard-headed Ranger. And it took years and years and years before I finally gave my life completely over to him. But I tell you what, it was moments like that when there is no other option that I could only turn to him. And I'm thankful he grabbed me in that moment and grabbed other men in that moment. And it's to this day, I'll have a text thread about 15 guys from that night. November 11th, 2006, that we still share. We call it Veterans Hill Day because it was a hilltop that they were shooting from us on that desert floor. So I just wanted to share that real quick. All right, now to shift gears, which really doesn't shift gears because probably multiple of us suffered from traumatic brain injuries that night with the amount of rocket propelled grenades that were coming in on us. But I am an ambassador to Resurrecting Lives Foundation, Dr. Chrisanne Gordon and the foundation she has started. And I know the Dublin AM Rotary is a huge supporter of Resurrecting Lives Foundation. Chrisanne is actually in San Diego on the USS Midway, giving a presentation on the updates of what Resurrecting Lives Foundation is doing for the veteran community who are suffering from traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder. But to bring you up to speed on what your donations mean and your support mean to Resurrecting Lives Foundation. In March of 2023, Chrisanne and her team at Resurrecting Lives Foundation will go to Washington, D.C. and will present Brainstorms, a short film that was developed and produced by Resurrecting Lives, to Capitol Hill and to a bipartisan Republican-Democrat front to get support on March of 2023, as March is the Brain Injury Awareness Month there. So that is on the horizon. What she is doing out at USS Midway right now is supporting Chief Pisano and his artwork that he is doing in order to bring awareness to what is probably the tip of the spear in her fight at Resurrecting Lives Foundation, and that's the continual epidemic of suicides amongst the veteran community. We can't hide from it. We got to be honest about it. Veterans are 5 times more likely to take their lives after combat than actually losing their lives in combat. And we're losing 5 times the amount of veterans to suicide than from combat. And that's an epidemic that has to be faced and has to be faced head on, and we have to address it. Yes, ma'am. Well, exactly what Dr. Gordon is doing, bringing awareness to it, not letting it be a taboo topic. Because it's not just the veteran community, it's society today. It's the second leading cause of death in 18 to 24-year-olds here in the United States. But raising the awareness, holistic treatment of traumatic brain injuries and of post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as showing these films to our elected officials in Washington, D.C. to get things done in order to move the ball forward in fighting that epidemic. And then finally, here locally, she's starting in Resurrecting Lives Foundation is starting an environmental awareness for veterans, green gardens and green type projects for the environment, and starting that here at the local level here in Dublin. And I want to tell you all, there's thousands upon thousands of nonprofits, right, for the veteran community. But I think it's imperative that it's the grassroots efforts of organizations like yours and organizations like Resurrecting Lives Foundation, because it can be a national event and everything else, but where the rubber meets the road, where work gets done, it's in rooms like this, and it's in the work that Resurrecting Lives Foundation does. So I thank you all for that and your continued support. Thanks a lot for having me as a guest.
Don't go sit down. on behalf of the club, want to present to you and Resurrecting Lives check amount of $500. Thank you, sir. So grab your blue tickets. All right. First ticket is, here I can read it. Last four, 2115.
Rich, all right.
All right, congratulations, sir. You too get to receive one of our awards. Next one. Two, 1, 3, 1. Here. Who said here? Pete. There you go. Throw it on the card, man. Thank you. Last but not least. 2108. All right. Who's on that? Hey. Thank you all. Thanks, man.
Guys, let's hear it for Dave. That was an amazing program. Thank you, Chad. Okay, I'm wrapping up today. I have a closing quote. Oh, actually, next week we will be having an in-service project here. No Zoom, just show up, get ready to work. We're doing a little project for the food pantry. So looking forward to that next week. Closing quote: the brave men living and dead who struggled here at Gettysburg have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. That was Abraham Lincoln. So let us honor our veterans and give them the recognition they deserve, not only today, but always. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend.